Welcome, my friend. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Jen Hilman. I invite you to roll out your mat and follow along with me in this Yin Low Back release. The practice of Yin yoga is a very passive approach to our time on the mat. In this practice, the invitation is to be slow, to release, to surrender into the feeling of your stretch and of your breath. So if you're not familiar practicing Yin, this is a wonderful way to get deep into your stretches while also having a deep relaxation through the practice. So if you've been stressed out or overworked or overwhelmed, this Yin practice may be just what you need to come back to a sense of grounding. Now in Yin, we like to use props. So for our practice today, I invite you to grab a couple of yoga blocks, as well as a yoga blanket. And you may find it helpful to have a cushion or a pillow that might support your practice as well. If you don't have these props, it's okay. You can still follow along with this practice today. And just know that if you are enjoying the practice of Yin style of yoga, at some point you'll probably want to invest in some of these props because it really helps to make your practice so much more yummy and juicy. Now, don't forget to like this video and leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel so we can help more people find these practices. And when you're ready, grab your props, roll out your mat, and let's get ready to release that low back. To begin our practice, we are going to start with a gentle and slow forward fold. So I want to have you grab your blanket and roll it up like a little log. Okay, so you can use a towel or any blanket. You just want something that's going to be thick enough, substantial enough that you have a pretty decent size roll. And then I'm going to have you slide that right underneath your knees. Now this is a time you might choose to have a cushion underneath your hips to have something to sit up on. Feel free to make that adjustment if you like, if that feels good. And from here, we are going to begin just slowly folding forward. Now it is okay if you don't fold forward very far. It's okay if all you do is look down. Wherever you find yourself in this stretch, just practice letting go. And I will add that you could choose to have your blocks underneath your hands along either side of your legs. So that can give you a little bit of support with your arms as you gently work on folding forward. So we're going to give ourselves some time to be in this stretch. This is the power of Yin. When you really allow yourself to stay with the stretch. Slowly, in time, your body begins to let go. And it becomes easier and easier to soften into the shape. So even though it looks like you're in one static pose, on the inside, you're having a whole world of sensation and experience here. Practice letting the head be heavy.
Practice letting your shoulders round forward. Practice giving in to the pull of gravity as it continuously pulls you forward. Let your breathing be slow and steady. With each exhale, see if you can release just a little bit deeper. When it comes to relieving tightness and discomfort in the low back, we have to also address the hamstrings, because the hamstrings act upon your pelvis, and your pelvis is the foundation for your spine. So if your back hurts, it is most likely related to tension in the legs. So let yourself breathe deeply as you soften into the stretch. And really allow yourself to release and let go. Take about 3 full cycles of breath. Try not to cut your breathing short, but really give yourself the freedom of 3 full and complete deep cycles of breath. And let yourself just gently lean in towards the edge of your stretch, finding the juiciest expression of this forward fold. And at the end of your 3rd exhale, slowly begin to roll your spine back up to center. But again, I do encourage you to move slowly here. We just had a deep release. So take your time in the unwinding. Now we're going to shift into our next posture. Still sitting on your mat, you can gently glide your blanket out of the way. Okay, then we're going to start by folding your left leg in. Then step your right foot to the outside of your left leg. Now try to bring the sole of your right foot flat to the floor. Really try to anchor down through the right foot. Then wrap your left arm around your right knee and begin to hug your knee in towards your shoulder. So we're just going to stay right here. This doesn't have to be a super deep twist in your spine, but rather let the focus be a steady and continuous hugging of the right knee. So there's a little action in that left arm, actively pulling the right knee in towards the left armpit or shoulder. So this is going to allow you to begin to access a stretch along the outer right hip, which again, all of these muscle groups are connected. So when we're feeling tightness, discomfort, or tension in the low parts of your back, it can often be connected with other muscle groups in the neighborhood. So in order to get that full low back release, we've got to address everything. Keep lifting up in your spine. Sitting up nice and tall will help you to get a little more sensation as you actively hug that right knee in. And only if you feel like your body needs a little more stretch or you're not quite getting that sensation, okay, then you can work on just rotating the shoulders around a little bit more. But again, we're not cranking the spine into a super deep spiral. This is really just focusing the stretch into your hip and parts of the right side of your low back. Actively hugging that right knee in, actively lifting and growing tall in your spine, and maybe just a little rotation in the spine, just a little. Breathing all the way down into your hip. Then we will slowly unwind, rotating back to the front. As you twist your heart open, we are going to work on stacking the legs here. So you have a couple of options. Some of you might want to cross and stack your knees. Some of you can play with stacking one ankle on top of the other, or on top of your knee, and then bringing the knee over the ankle. For some of you, this is not going to touch. You can use a block. So set yourself up however it feels good. A couple different ways, right? You can crisscross at the knee, and you can stay right here, just sitting up nice and tall. This feels really great if you're able to access it. If you're not quite there today, you can work on stacking ankle over knee, knee over ankle. Sitting up tall, you can gently use your right hand to press that right knee down. That will give you just a little more action in the stretch. And if you're not quite there, if your hip is just super tight, we're going to want to bring that block. You can place it comfortably on top of your left foot and let your right knee rest on top of the block. And then kind of the same idea. We want to sit up tall and just gently press the right knee down. So wherever you find yourself, breathe into the hip. And then I'm going to give you one more option, which is to slowly start to lean forward. So you might be using the block underneath your right knee. You have your third or your second block that you can bring your hands onto this block. Some of you might have more range of motion and you can bring your head onto the block. Some of you might be super flexy and you just want to come all the way forward. That's an option as well. But again, I want to remind you, in the yin practice, our goal is not always to push to the deepest extremes of your stretch. Yin invites us to find a comfortable place within the stretch, a place that you can release more and more into. And if your body is saying, I don't want to fold forward, that doesn't feel good to me, then you certainly don't have to. You can stay sitting, Just gently pressing the right knee down, working into that outer right hip. So this is completely your practice. The most important thing is to stay connected to your breath. And stay present with the feelings in your body. Now we're going to slowly release this stretch. So we're going to uncross the legs. You can hug your knees into your chest here, just gently giving yourself a hug. Then we'll prepare to move on to the other side. So we're going to start with that seated twist. So folding the right knee open to the side, you'll step your left foot firmly down onto the mat. So we really step the foot flat to the floor, and then wrap your right arm around that left knee. Now, first things first, before we do anything else, you just want to hug your left knee in. Try and lift up in your spine so you feel a sense of height and extension through your spine. Then we just hug, hug, hug. Actively squeezing your left knee in towards your chest. So just be present with what you feel. Notice that one side may feel differently than the other. We very rarely are truly symmetrical in our bodies. So whatever sensations are present for you here in this stretch, here and now, just breathe into that. Be present with what you feel. Releasing expectation of what you think it's supposed to feel like. And just let yourself be present with what it does feel like. And if you would like to get a little deeper, a little more sensation, only if it's actually beneficial for your practice, you might begin to rotate the shoulders around a little bit more, but only if it's helpful. Really try to listen to your body. Let your body guide your decisions. And see if you can maintain that deep, delicious breath as you twist. And we'll slowly begin to unwind, coming back to the front. And then again, we are going to play with this hip stretch, and you can find your own expression. So you might try crossing the knees, one on top of the other. I might say this is a deeper, like the deepest variation. If that's more than your body wants today, then we'll open it up, make the shape a little wider, stacking your left ankle over your right knee, your left knee over your right ankle, and just lifting up through the spine as you gently guide that left knee down. And then, of course, if your knee is way up here, the hip is just too tight, then grab a block. You can place it, find a good comfortable placement on top of your right foot, and then just let your left knee settle onto the block there. So you have a couple of different options, a couple different ways you can play with it. Wherever you are, try to lift up in your spine, finding length. And then again, here you have some options. You can just stay sitting up tall, or if you'd like to take it one step further, you can begin to fold forward. Maybe all you do is just lean forward a little bit. Maybe that's where the shape really comes to life for you. Maybe you come down onto your forearms. That might be that safe, comfortable edge, right? Not all the way to the edge. We're not even like looking over the edge. Just feeling within that safe, comfortable boundary of what the muscles are willing to allow. You might be able to bring your forehead down onto a block, or some of you may be folding all the way down to the floor. It doesn't really matter per se. It doesn't matter what it looks like, really. This is a practice of feeling. Deepening into what feels good in the present moment. Whatever feels good in your body right here and now. One deep breath at a time. We'll slowly begin to unwind. If you're folding forward, go ahead and press yourself back up to your seat. Then we'll slowly uncross your legs and just gently hug your knees into your chest here. A little self squeeze. And then we are going to go ahead and come down onto your back. Now bring your blocks with you because we're going to use them while we're on our backs. So for this next pose, we are going to do a supported bridge pose. So for some of you who are practiced, maybe you're familiar, bridge pose is with the feet on the floor and the hips in the air. So we are going to use one block to support your hips, and it's up to you if you want to have your block on the lowest setting, on the medium setting, or on the tallest setting. So you may want to experiment a little bit or even adjust once or twice within the duration of the pose. So just give yourself permission to explore, find what feels good, and adjust as needed. So we're going to start on your back with your feet flat on the floor and just get a sense that your feet are parallel, right? That all 10 toes are pointing in the same direction. Then go ahead and begin to lift up your hips. And we're going to grab that block and slide your block underneath your sacrum. So we're really placing it right under the hips, not under your low back. And you'll be able to tell if the block is in your low back, it's going to feel kind of awkward. It doesn't really feel that comfortable. So you're going to want to slide your block down a little bit lower. On the other side, if your block is too low, it's going to feel like you're kind of falling off. You won't really feel supported. So we want to bring the block right underneath the pelvis, right underneath your sacrum. And from there, you can turn your toes, kind of pigeon toes slightly, or just let your heels rotate out and let your knees fall into center. Now, as you settle into this pose, bring your awareness to your low back. Just become present with whatever sensations arise here. And if it's feeling pinchy, if it's feeling uncomfortable, bring your block to a lower setting. Again, today's practice is not about the deepest, biggest, most epic stretch. Today's practice is about gentleness. It's about slowing down and getting deep into the body by easing in. So it's okay to, take a less deep variation, even less than what you're used to, because we're approaching the practice from a different perspective. And as you become aware of the sensations that you're feeling, We want to breathe into it a feeling of release. It feels like melting. It feels like letting go. It feels like softening. It feels like a deeper breath. More spaciousness. It feels like allowing. So let yourself tune in to the opening, to the softening, to the deep and subtle adjusting. Again, it might look like stillness on the outside, but on the inside and in subtle ways, the body is adjusting. The body is responding to the stretch. Let yourself meditate on the feeling and allow your body to release. And I'm going to give you one more option here. And just remember that it is an option, just up to you. Something else you can play with. If you like, you can try extending your right leg out in front of you, just extending the right leg long. Let the toes fall open to the side so you feel that your hip is completely relaxed. And you'll feel an increased stretch across the front of the hip flexor, so the front side of the right hip. But if this does not feel comfortable to your body, if it feels pinchy, if it feels bad, don't do it. You don't have to, you don't need to. But if you're trying it, see what you notice. Give yourself 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths. And then you can see what happens if you try the other side. And again, remember that each side can feel different. So release any expectations or release any thoughts of what should be. And just notice what comes up. And you don't even have to do anything to change it. Just notice it. The only thing you need to change is if it feels uncomfortable. If it feels bad, go back to what feels good. But if it feels like something you can soften into, just let it be. And whenever you are feeling complete and satisfied with your journey here, you can slowly, just very gently lift your hips away from your block, slide the block out of the way, then gently guide your hips back down to the floor. Then again, walk your feet wide, turning the toes in slightly. Let your knees fall to center. This is a resting pose. This is a resting shape that helps to decompress the SI joint and the deepest parts of the low back. So we just want to breathe here for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to reverse directions by walking your feet together. Let the soles of the feet touch as your knees open out towards the sides. So again, this is a time that you may want to grab your blocks And gently place your blocks between your two knees so that you can really relax the legs, really relax the hips, and feel very supported here. Some of you may be very flexible. You don't necessarily need the blocks. If that's the case, you can move them to the side and just let your knees relax down towards the earth. You can always bring those blocks into play at any time. And I invite you to find whatever placement of your arms feels natural and good to you. You can have one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. You could have your arms open gently to the side. You may enjoy having your arms overhead with your elbows slightly bent. Just trust yourself, trust your instinct, wherever your arms want to be. The most important thing here is just being able to relax and really let go. See how much you can soften, relaxing any muscles that might be clenching. If you notice anything squeezing, even on a subtle level, see if you can let it go. I welcome you to stay in this posture for as long as it feels good to your body. And whenever you feel ready, anytime, you can extend your legs out to the end of your mat. And let your arms relax down by your sides, letting yourself fully surrender into our corpse pose. Shavasana is the ultimate practice of letting go. And for many yogis, is actually the hardest pose of all, because Shavasana invites us to stillness, to non-doing. And for our minds that have been conditioned to stay busy, the challenge of non-doing can seem quite difficult. But this is the invitation to simply be, to simply breathe, to occupy this space on your mat. Feel yourself soften and surrender. And just be.
Take a nice big, deep breath in. Then exhale and release all the way out. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently reawakening movement into the body. In due time, you can reach your arms up over your head, stretching your whole body. And softly roll yourself over to one side. And just take a moment to pause in a comfortable side lying position. Feeling held by the earth, nurtured in this moment. Feel that comfortable familiarity. This relaxed position. And slowly begin to press yourself up into a seat. And you are welcome to sit on your blanket or on a cushion if that's helpful. Just take a moment to settle into a comfortable seat. Staying present with a deep, relaxed breath. Bring your hands together at your heart. Thank yourself for taking this time to be in presence with your breath and your body. Thank yourself for taking the time to slow down. And I thank you for allowing me to be your guide. It's truly an honor to walk with you on this journey. Visit me on my social media at Jen Hilman. You can visit my website, jenhilman.com. Have yourself a beautiful, restful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you on your mat again soon. Namaste.